Alrighty, everyone, hello. And now, when it comes to working with angels, I know we've had a long series called Archangel of the Month, and that's been really fun. However, there are a lot of people who I think still assume that angels are some kind of light, bright, fluffy, cute, adorable situation when they are, in fact, anything but. So let me talk to you a little bit about how I work with angels, what angels I work with, and what that looks like on a daily basis. Specifically, I know some people have been asking about Archangel Michael, so I guess I am going to start there, and I'm going to show you a really cool resource you can use also to, at any point, speak to these figures. So first and foremost, this is a really interesting tool, Travis McHenry's Angel Tarot, and that's because, if we look at the back of the box that I have upside down, they're not really so much like tools of tarot as much as they are tools of, not quite summoning, but definitely communication. I mean, they literally have the sigil of an angel on it, right? Like the sigil of an angel, information about the angel. It doesn't really tell you anything about the actual tarot card and what it means. It just has the information about the angel. And of course, if anyone was looking for a good resource on angels too, Damien Equals Angels and Archangels is also really good. And this is the one that I first used to start learning about these different angels. So for example, if I talk about Archangel Michael, you'll note that, he's typically pictured with the red robe, with the sword, associated with fire, summer, heat. So for Leo season, I mean, it's all about that kind of Michael energy right now. And some reasons to invoke Michael include to lose weight, for ferocity and competition, just for physical prowess in general, for protection, to enhance passion, or for any outcome associated with fire. It's also important to know that he is the patron saint, Saint Michael the Archangel, of police and the military and other such things. And of course, there is also the Feast of Michael or Michaelmas on September 29th, and that feast is not just for Michael, it bears his name, but it's really the feast of all the archangels. So that's definitely a prime time to connect with the archangels. But in general, these angels, each one of them, if you ever notice that iach ending or that L ending, like Omamiach or Michael, right? These denote characteristics of God. So for example, in this deck, right, if I hold up Michael's card, it'll say what his name means. It'll say, who is like God. That's what Michael, or, as we call Michael, really means. It means he who is like God. Likewise, Samael is the severity of God. And this one is the one that's really credited with doing a lot of the dirty work, right? The firstborn in Egypt, for instance. If Uriel was the one pointing out the houses, this one was the angel of death going and cleaning it up, right? The severity of God is very harsh, it's very venomous, like a sting, and very rough around the edges. But in this deck are many. And as a quick side note, I have had a question where people said, are we allowed to use these? Because, these are like the 72 angels of, Kabbalah. Isn't that like a closed thing? Isn't that a Jewish thing? To which I say, yes, but there's so much more to Kabbalah than just the angels that you're not really doing Kabbalah just by having the names of angels here, And also, God is God is God, so the angels that exist still exist, right? Like, Michael exists in Judaism and Christianity, so does Gabriel, so does Uriel, so do all of these other angels. They exist in Judaism and Christianity. Christianity, in fact, at one point had church figures complaining about how many angel names they kept finding, how many angels there were. There were just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them. So these 72 represent the different angels of the 72 names of God, which is more of a Kabbalistic concept, but Christianity had angels, and so did Judaism. They had overlapping the same angels for centuries, even before Kabbalah was officially, really solidified in the Middle Ages. So it's not so much that, you should avoid these because closed practice. It's more that there is much more to Kabbalah than just a deck of cards with the names of angels on them. And so, if you are an Abrahamic, like Jewish, Christian, Muslim, these angels still exist if we're all talking about the same God. And Christians are definitely still talking about the Jewish God, considering Jesus was Jewish and was following this God. At some point, as uncomfy as it is, there will be overlap. And we just have to be considerate and conscious of the fact that Christians have been really crappy about this kind of stuff for centuries, trying to force Jewish people to convert. This is generally why you don't want to go mess with it, just out of respect for that history of disaster and mess that Christians have caused. When it comes to working with angels, the way I see angels in the first place is that these are quite literally masks of God, right? If God is infinite and it's just too big for us to properly understand, each one of these angels carries one of his many facets. So, if we have, he who is like God, the severity of God, we also have Kehethel, who is the adored God. We have Haziel, who is the merciful God, right? So, there are so many different types. Aladiach, the favorable God. Lawiach, the exalted God. There are so many different epithets of God buried in the names of these angels. And so when you call upon an angel, yes, you're calling upon a certain spirit, but you are also specifically calling upon an aspect of God that they are wearing like a mask, basically. It's almost like having a name tag or some kind of otherwise uniform or something that you put on to signify what aspect of God you are. And a lot of angels, when they are not wearing a mask, they are very much almost like androids. They are very much these beings that are autonomous to an extent. In Islamic tradition, actually, angels don't have free will at all, but angels have some will to an extent, but they really don't have much color and flavor to them until they put on one of these masks. So think about like any typical android, and think about something that looks like maybe Eva from WALL-E, right? Eva is one of a bajillion of the same thing, but we kind of see that she has a bit of her own personality the more she is associated with Eva, not as a name title of the whole product of robot, but as a specific name for her, right? Suddenly this androgynous robot, who's just named the same thing as every other version of her, takes on more of that personality when given that actual name. Similar things happen with angels in that, yes, they are their own beings, their own creations, but it's the specific name of God that they wear that really fleshes them out into their own being, into like something separate from each other. And so that's really, really interesting. And it also helps to better understand angels as metaphors as much as autonomous spirits. Michael, he who is like God, is like the closest approximation to God you're gonna get if he is like God. If he is like God, then we can assume God is like him, right? As obvious as that sounds. That tells us something about God when we interact with this being called Michael, and he is so bright, fiery, powerful, protective, severe, but also fair, right? He is the advocate in Judaism against the accuser, which is Satan, or, Hashatan, or specifically Samael. And as a witch, in my day-to-day life, I don't, do tons of work with them all the time. However, the prayer to Saint Michael the Archangel is a baller protective prayer that I use all the time. Also, if I'm going to the gym and I really want to improve physically, I will absolutely, as we talked about in the other book, I will ask God to send Saint Michael to beat my ass in the gym. Because otherwise, I might be a little bit too soft on myself. I might not push myself as hard. But if I can, focus on Michael and focus on that kind of harsh military style training, it'll help me a little bit more. Likewise, Samael is one where, really, whenever I have a situation that requires, justice against an enemy or something, not only am I going to have Michael there for protection, but also Samael there for the offensive part. He's one that can definitely teach people about that severity, that judgment, right? Cutting things off. Taking things and, saying, nope, enough is enough. Setting boundaries, right? And another nice thing about these cards is that they tell you also what they can help with, right? So if Luia, the swiftly hearkening god here, is one that you want to call on, it's for, namely, fruition, provides expansive intelligence, and gives the grace of God. So if you wanted to study more, if you wanted to, get smarter or anything like that, Luia would be one that can help you with expanding your mindset, expanding your worldview, expanding your intelligence or anything like that. Pahalia, God the Redeemer, is obviously all about redemption, coming back from something, and specifically against enemies of religion, and governs chastity. So each of these different aspects of God deals with different ideas and different situations. And when it comes to working with them, this is why I suggest this deck. You can just put this card down in the middle and put things around that help you focus on them. For instance, with Michael, we know that red fire is a thing. You might put down the card of Michael, and then also something gold, something red candles, golden flowers, anything like that, that'll help you focus. And then it's just a matter of meditating, talking to them, asking them, what they want you to focus on, experiencing their energy, learning how to access them faster or quicker, or get to them quicker when you need them out there in the wild. This is the practical application of these things. Working with them doesn't mean that you are literally using them like a Pokemon. It means that you are working on yourself with them. That whatever they stand for helps you in some way to achieve some growth within yourself, whether it's physical growth, whether it's intellectual growth. These are entities and aspects of God that can help you better reflect on yourself and better illuminate parts in yourself that need assistance. And you can do that with angels, you can do that with demons, you can do that with anybody. I will just say that when it comes to angels though, Abrahamic angels specifically, not Zoroastrian angels, not any other angels, these angels specifically, Abrahamic ones, they really don't want to be worshipped. That is the only thing I will say. A lot of people say they are devotees of Michael or they worship Michael, and it's like, no. They don't want you to do that. They would rather you focus your worship, adoration, and everything else on God, because they are also serving God. And that's something important. Angels do not necessarily have to help you. If God says, no, don't help that person, they are not helping you. They're not helping you. Generally, God doesn't, forbid them from doing so, but they obey God first, not people. They really don't obey people at all. And so, of course, when people have this idea that angels are all love and all light and super warm and gentle, they miss out on exactly angels like Samael, whose entire personance is severity, judgment, wrath, boundaries, cutting things off, severing things. They miss out on the angels whose entire function is destruction of enemies, destruction of evildoers, whose entire focus is on pushing people beyond the boundaries of their comfort to grow. Every angel has the capacity to speak gently, but they are in such a place where they can see everything with such a bird's eye view that if you are not doing the things that they are telling you to do, that they know will help you, if you just keep waffling and whining and crying, they will either force a situation in which you will have no choice but to confront these issues, or they will just outright leave because they don't understand why you would ask for their help and then not apply it. They aren't really spirits that are super easy to work with as a result. It's very much sink or swim. Imagine like a drill sergeant, imagine like, that one gym teacher who was really harsh. Sure, some like Gabriel and like Jophiel and like Haniel will be a little bit gentler. Zadkiel will be a little bit gentler. But when they're tired of you playing around and not doing what you need to do, they will let you know. And they will let you know harshly and quickly. The results will be amazing, but damn, does it not spare your feelings or your time or your energy. So keep that in mind when you start working with angels. With all that said, if you do want to work with them, still, approach them, absolutely. Just be aware of what you're getting into. So, with all that said, I will see you guys next time for some more chats, and I hope this was a helpful overview of angels. See ya!